Hello, agri-science students. We are going to continue with our leadership unit today. We talked about leadership. We've talked about leadership all along, but the first video that you watched was mostly about FFA. The one today is going to be somewhat about FFA as well. No history today, but just a little bit about what we do in FFA. The whole purpose behind our organization and in building leadership in you is to help you to develop confidence, to help you develop character, to help you to become a better citizen. And we hope that you will jump in and take part in the activities that we have to offer in order to be able to do those things. We desperately try to build cooperative attitudes between our students. We're going to put you on teams and you're going to be in groups from time to time, and you may have to work with people that you're not crazy about. But we hope that through maturity and learning how to lead, that you can work with others and learn to get along with anybody. It also helps us to encourage you to be a better student. When you see the word scholarship, you're not necessarily talking about just the money that you would receive to go to a college, even though FFA does offer those kinds of things as well. Scholarship just basically means making you a better student and helping you to improve your learning. So, those are some of the things that we try to do as we build leadership within our students in FFA. We do that. Ways and means just means how. And we do that through helping you to develop an appreciation of the things that we do through FFA. We do have lots of activities, traditions, things that you will see over and over with FFA. Our colors, for one thing. If you've been in my classroom, you will notice that my classroom is not painted like the rest of the classes in school. It is gold and it has blue in there, not exactly national blue and corn gold, but pretty close. So our colors are national blue and corn gold. National blue is the color of blue that's on the American flag, whereas corn gold is probably pretty self explanatory. It is the gold of an ear of corn. And the reason for that is because corn is a staple in American agriculture. Corn is grown in all 50 states, and so we use corn as the base of a lot of agricultural products. Each year, we develop what's called a program of activities. And we've had to get creative with our program of activities this year because of the COVID situation. But the program of activities is literally just an outline of the things that we're going to do during a school year. It's a calendar of activities of things that we are going to sponsor and provide for you as members throughout the school year. This helps us to create a better chapter, and hopefully it helps us to provide some sort of service to our local community. So be on the lookout for more things about our POA as the year goes on. We're going to have to be creative in how we do meetings and things like that this year, but we will have some activities for you as FFA members. We don't want to just leave you without something to do as members, even though we are doing a lot of our communication online. You probably have noticed the FFA emblem. I have a big one in my classroom. It's on pretty much everything that we do that is FFA related. There are some parts to the emblem. We talked a little bit about the emblem in the last FFA section, but we'll talk a little bit more about it today because each of these parts of the emblem actually mean something. If you're looking at the emblem, one of the first things that you probably notice is the fact that it looks like somebody took a corn cob and chopped it in half. And you can see the kernels that are on that corn cob. Again, the reason that we use the corn cob, the ear of corn, is because it is a unifying crop. It's a unifying type of commodity, and corn is grown in all 50 states. And we also have FFA in Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam. There's also a FFJ, which is the Future Farmers of Japan. And so this is becoming not only a nationwide organization, but also a worldwide organization. But here in the United States, ours is based on that ear of corn. One of the other things you probably noticed that's pretty prominent in the emblem is that there is a huge bird sitting on top of it, and that is the American eagle. When you think about the American eagle, for me, I think about this huge bird flying through the air, a symbol of freedom, and that's basically what it symbolizes. It looks at the fact that this is an American symbol and it symbolizes the national scope of FFA and the fact that it is a national organization that reaches across the entire country. In the middle of the emblem, you probably notice there is a field with a plow in it. If you're not familiar with that strange piece of equipment, that is a plow. If you look at it, though, that is not the type of plow that you hook up behind a tractor. That's the type of plow that you would hook up behind a horse or a mule or something like that. And so when we look at the plow, that symbolizes labor, hard work. It is very difficult work to try to keep a plow upright in a field, plow straight rows, keep the horse doing what it's supposed to be doing, and not getting mud and soil all over the plow where it's getting mired down in the mud. So, plowing is not an easy job, especially when you are doing it with one of these handheld plows. So, that is a symbol of labor and tillage of the soil, preparing the soil to grow things. On top of the plow is a bird. That particular bird is an owl. I don't know why somebody a long time ago decided that owls should be wise, but they did. And so the owl is a symbol of wisdom and the information that it takes and the knowledge that it takes to be successful in agriculture. It is not a simple job, it's something where you have to actually know and understand how things grow, how things work. And so there is a tremendous amount of wisdom that is required to be successful in agriculture. Behind the owl, you see a sun, and you probably can't tell if it's a rising sun or a setting sun, but I will tell you that it is a rising sun. And the rising sun is just a symbol that tomorrow's a new day. We all have those days when we think, I should not have gotten out of the bed this morning. Everything is going kind of crazy. We all have those. And the good thing about the rising sun here is that it is just a symbol of hope, a symbol of promise that tomorrow is going to be a better day. Finally, there are the words agricultural education and the letters FFA, and those are a symbol of both learning and leadership. And agricultural education is going to symbolize the learning part. FFA is going to symbolize the leadership. We have a motto. Our FFA motto is 4 lines. Pretty easy to learn and remember. Learning to do. We are in a classroom. We are learning how to do things so that when you go outside, you can actually put your hands on things and do those hands-on activities in order to be able to learn. So the first two go very close hand in hand together. You're learning how to do things, but then you're actually performing those things in order to learn better. Earning to live, learning how to make money so that you can support yourself and sustain yourself, and then of course living to serve. Living to serve other people, doing things for other people. I can promise you that one of the things that we spend a lot of time in our FFA chapter thinking about and talking about is what can we do for other people? How can our officers serve the membership of our organization? We've already mentioned some of these symbols, like the rising sun and the plow. But you'll see the symbols again. We have officers, and those officers are going to be stationed by something. When you see us do opening ceremony, the president will say, stationed by so and so. The vice president will say, stationed by so and so. And what that means is that there is a symbol that actually is, well, symbolic of that particular job that's done by that officer. The president is stationed by the rising sun, and the rising sun, remember, those are the opportunities for a new day. The president is supposed to be that officer that leads you into those opportunities of a new day, and they also provide over meetings. The vice president is stationed by the plow, and the reason is because if you remember, we talked about the plow being hard work, labor, tillage of the soil, and the vice president, that's a tough job. Even though they're not the president, they're not the one that's out there in charge of everything, they are responsible for doing a lot of the organization. So they do all the committee work and make sure that all the committees are doing what they're supposed to be doing. The secretary, this one to me is a little bit of a stretch. The ear of corn. They say the reason for the ear of corn is because the corn is grown all over 50 states, and the secretary is supposed to be responsible for communicating with people all over 50 states, and they keep records of the meetings. They keep the minutes of the meetings. The treasurer is the emblem of Washington, and by that we mean George Washington, and that treasurer is going to help to keep financial records. George Washington should kind of be easy to remember because if you think about the dollar bill, there's his face on it. And so we think about money and those dollar bills, and George Washington should be easy to remember. But the actual reason for using George Washington is not necessarily because his face is on the dollar bill, but because he was a farmer. Not only was he the first president of the United States, but he had a very successful farm. If you've ever been up to Washington, D.C., Mount Vernon was his farm. And so he was a very successful farmer, and successful financially and successful as far as production. Again, another one that's kind of a stretch for me is the reporter. They say as the flag covers the United States of America, which, I guess they're saying that there's the same flag is the same flag regardless of whether you're in North Carolina or in Oregon, but that the reporter is supposed to cover things that happen within the organization. I know it's kind of a bit of a stretch. Finally, the Sentinel. They are stationed by the Shield of Friendship, which is basically two hands that are shaking. Also, the door. And the purpose of the Sentinel is to welcome people, to make them feel like they are guests at the FFA meetings, make sure that people are comfortable, make sure that they're taken care of. Basically, they are kind of like a welcoming committee, a one-person welcoming committee. Some other opportunities. There's a lot of things you can get involved in as far as FFA. Probably one of the first things I got involved in was a regional leadership school. That was one of the first things that I did as an FFA member in high school, and it kind of got my feet wet. But there are lots of conferences, leadership schools, conventions. There is FFA Camp, one of my favorite activities, and I'll tell you more about FFA Camp as we go along, but we didn't get to do camp this year because of the coronavirus situation, but that's something that I look forward to getting back to again. We have lots of community involvement. We have activities that we do to try to serve our community. We have state and national conventions, and our state convention is in Raleigh, and that is in June. And there is a typo on this PowerPoint. We have actually moved our national FFA convention. It is no longer in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm not going to stop the video just to fix that, but please make sure that you do note that our national convention, not in Louisville, Kentucky anymore. It is actually in Indianapolis, Indiana. It is held in October, though not this year. Our convention has been canceled for this year just because of the threat of the pandemic. Finally, there are lots of competitive events, and we talked about CDEs a little bit earlier in the PowerPoint. I'm going to stop there, and this is an extra credit activity that you can do should you choose to do it. This is not listed as an assignment in your Canvas course, in your Canvas module, because it is an extra credit assignment if it's something that you're interested in doing. You can see the instructions there on the paper, and you can take a picture of your finished product and email that to me if you would like to get that extra credit. And that will be due 1 week from the day that you watch this video. So please make sure that you check that out if you want to get a little bit of extra credit. I will see you guys next time where we will talk about parliamentary procedure.